Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of The Spill. I am your host, Tonya Oliver, and I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, Miss Michelle Simmons. And I'm just beyond excited, Michelle.
Right, we did it.
Really, we did it.
So
we
excited.
did it.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, girl. What?
So why don't we tell our guests, what is The Spill?
Okay. The Spill is a weekly talk show that is going to give you real talk, right. The spill, if you will, on everything from politics to sports, from hot topics to reality TV, to what people are talking about on social media, to what we need to be talking about in our everyday lives. Right. We're going to give you the spill on relationships, health issues, the criminal justice system, and many issues that disproportionately affect the Black community. Our intention on this show is not only to entertain, but to inform, to educate, and bring a moral and spiritual component to the craziness that is impacting our society. Wow. We intend to bring a viewpoint that will probably be somewhat different than what you would typically hear on talk media, but our goal will always be to speak truth to power in our attempt to uplift, to inspire, and tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We want to, as the young folks say, keep it 100. And in doing so, stimulate our audience to engage in substantive dialogue and become critical thinkers that may not necessarily be mainstream thinking, but perhaps how we should be thinking. Right. But we're going to talk about it.
Oh, boy,
and with that being said, Michelle, let's get it started.
Let's get it started. Well, guys, listen. Every time we come to you, we're going to share with you something, a little something that we're feeling at the moment, and it's what we call flavor of the day. Our flavor of the day today is a lovely libation by Behringer. This is from their Founders Reserve collection, which is actually a very moderately priced wine for $9.99. At least it's $9.99 in Miami. And it is smooth red blend. This is very delicious. Good. It is something that surprised me because, you know, a lot of times when you're looking for a red wine, you want to go a little up in price. You don't want anything that's going to be too inexpensive because it might be too bad. Yes. But I have to thank you for turning me on to red. So I know you're going to enjoy this.
You know, I've had several bottles.
Oh, right. Yeah, we have had several bottles. So what we want you to do, if you have a flavor of the day that you'd like to share with us, please, by all means, send us some information. You can do it on Twitter. You can do it on Instagram at Go With The Spill, hashtag flavor of the day. It could be a product, hairstyle, hair products, lip glosses. It could be a nice restaurant, something that you're feeling that you want the rest of us to know about. So that's our flavor of the day. And what are we going to introduce now?
Okay, well, as I said before, we want to, on this show, we want to do more than just entertain. We're going to entertain now, but we also want to educate our audience. So we have a segment on the show called Fab Vocab, where every week we'll introduce a new vocabulary word, one that will probably not be what you would typically hear, most of us, I should say, in everyday conversation, because some people got a strong command of English language, but will be fabulous additions to your linguistic repertoire.
Of course.
So, the first Fab Vocab word for the spill is
pusillanimous.
Say it again.
Pusillanimous.
One more time.
Pusillanimous.
And it means?
Lacking in courage. Lacking in courage to the point of being markedly and contemptible timidity. So someone who's probably scared of their own shadow, you might not even recognize it right away, but they'll do something that lets this adjective be a part of their descriptive. So pusillanimous.
Pusillanimous.
Yeah, we're going to use the word all throughout the show, and the more you hear it, the more it will start to sound like other words you may be familiar with that will corroborate what we just said. Cowardly.
Cowardly.
Cowardly. So pusillanimous. And speaking of
pusillanimous. Okay, next segment of the show, we refer to it as crazy talk. Most people probably say hot topics or whatever, but this is our crazy talk. A lot of people are talking about it. Right. And I know that everyone has heard about the ex-NFL safety, Darren Sharper. Okay, Darren, bless his soul. 38 years old, retired football player. PH fine, okay? You know, they say fat, P-H-A-T.
Look him up in the dictionary, look up fine, and you're going to see his face right there.
And this man,
delicious.
Michelle, this man has dated some of the most beautiful women in the world.
Gabrielle Union.
She's one of them. He's been associated with gorgeous women, but 9 women are accusing him of rape and putting drugs in their drinks and, you know, having his way with them. Not in 5 different states.
What are those states?
California, Arizona, Louisiana, and Florida. Did I leave out one because I don't have my glasses on?
Yeah, I think it was California, Arizona, Florida, Louisiana.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, okay. All right.
All A states. He has an affinity for A states.
But the point being, really?
Yeah. So this segment is called, unfortunately, Dumb Darren Sharper.
And
Dumb Darren Sharper. But this is alleged. This is alleged.
That's
so
right. We have to say
he has pled not guilty, so we don't know what actually went down. But you gave me some information that was worth considering as in regards to football players and some of their previous injuries that might cause a little distortion in their behavior.
Michelle, when I was doing a little bit of research on him, and I was married to a football player as well, professional football player as well, and they're going through a concussion lawsuit, and I was thinking, is it maybe their sport has caused something to truly go wrong upstairs? I mean, you know, Junior Seau committed suicide. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I know another guy who played, Gene Atkins, played with my husband, and he was on Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. This man got to like 25 or 40 or something and couldn't go 41, 42. And yes, real, he's been diagnosed with serious cognitive problems. So I'm thinking, could this possibly have something to do with the craziness that you see with this Hernandez guy? He's been accused of murdering his friend. Really?
I know. Quite possibly, but I think there's something that a lot of us want to begs the question. And ladies, I don't want you to be uncomfortable or get upset, but we have to have what my girl always calls personal responsibility. So the question becomes, if it's true that some of these women were there at 2 a.m. in the morning, you know, this is not your regular boyfriend, this is not your fiance, you're there at 2 a.m. in the morning, you're partaking in illegal substances that only, to my knowledge, are legal in California right now, or Colorado, not any of those A states, and you are participating, it becomes, what's the expectation? What did you actually think was going to happen there? And then there is that thing that I always call mass hysteria. One person jumps on a bandwagon, then a bunch of other people jump on the bandwagon too. Not saying they're lying, just saying that sometimes different, you know, variables will contribute to you saying a thing happened, and it might skew your perception.
You know what?
As politely as I can say that.
I wouldn't argue that, but I would say this. The saying that I always go by is, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it ain't a dog. Okay.
Well, that's a new one. I don't know that one.
There's like 9 ducks. Okay. I hope that it's not true.
Yes, we're gonna follow that.
But we'll follow it up.
We'll definitely follow that one. So, you know, if you have some information, you might have personal information about this. Again, you know, Twitter, Instagram, at Go With The Spill. And this is unfortunately, hashtag Dumb Darren Sharper. Yes. Darren, we love you. You're so fine, but kind of dumb. So what we're going to do now is take a little bit of a break, and then...
And when we come back, there's another segment on the show we call Where They Do That At.
Stay tuned.
So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. All right, when we ended, we were telling you about the next segment of the show that we have, and it's called Where They Do That At. Okay, the Where They Do That At for today is, I know you've heard of the preacher who asked the female parishioners to come to church without their underwear on. Okay.
This segment's called Preacher and the Panties.
Preacher and the Panties. Reverend Njo He of Lord's Propeller Redemption Church in Nairobi, Kenya, advised his female parishioners to come to church free, no undergarments, so that Christ could enter their lives fully, and undergarments hinder that. Okay.
Well, my first question is, what about the men? Are they? How does God enter them fully?
I don't know. It's funny because they should. I wonder if the women asked him that. Well, what about the men?
I'm just curious about the access, the entry, the egress and the ingress. No, let me stop. This is comical, but it is so seriously
it's sad,
insane. It's insane.
Absolutely insane.
I don't even get it. Where they do that? Kenya. Okay, so what do you think? I know you have a very, very special take on this because of the fact that you
I'm a
are
Christian.
Very Christian.
I'm a Christian, and first of all, it absolutely does nothing for Christianity. I can just hear people like Bill Maher saying, "I told you," because he's a Christian basher.
Oh gosh.
But again, but the Bible tells you about these kinds of people. Matthew 7:15 says, "Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves." So it's not that we should be surprised by these things. Come on, Jim Jones was. Jim Jones, but the question, Michelle, that we talked about is again going back to the women. They did it. They left their drawers at home. Where they do that at? What in your mind says, now that's Christian? The Lord don't need my drawers. I know He made me and everything in it, but He need my drawers off. Come on, seriously?
You know what? That's where, like I said, the religion ends and where does your common sense begin? Somewhere in there you got to be able to latch on and figure out this doesn't make any sense. But again, is it just an overwhelming addiction or praise? I see it as fanaticism. I see them as worshiping their pastor more than using their own God-given good sense as to what should be going on there. I mean, but we've heard some other things that we won't talk about in complete detail on this show, but you'll hear more about some of this very interesting pastor, parishioner interaction that just doesn't make any sense.
It's funny because, no, Michelle, that used to be kind of like it used to be atypical to kind of hear that kind of craziness, but now it seems to be very commonplace. I mean, it's like, okay, when's the next preacher going to have said something else crazy? So again,
it's disappointing, but again,
it is.
Where they do that at? They do that in Kenya. And if you have some information, you can email it to us. We're at thespilltv.com. Just let us know if there's something that really, really, really is weird and insane and crazy in your neck of the woods, and we'll put it on where they do that at. So, all right.
Definitely so. Okay, next.
And next is Back Talk. Now, Back Talk is fun for me because we're actually having the opportunity to talk about some of what I call our fellow hosts, because that's what we do now. I like that. There are over 100 talk shows right here in the United States. And so we've got a plethora of things that we can discuss because every time they come on the air, they have a platform. They're either dropping pearls of wisdom, you know, like the Oprahs and the Dr. Phils and what have you, or they're giving us a little information that some would say is borderline just reckless imprudence. I mean, some of the information, some of the advice that comes from some of the shows is really, really questionable. And but at the same time, we do recognize that all of these shows are their opinions, and we have ours. So we're going to speak to some of those opinions. And today we're talking about something we heard on The View. We call this one empowerment through porno. So let me frame it. Young lady, Bella Knox, Duke student. And like I discussed with you earlier, if you're accepted to Duke, you're not an average chick. That's an above average intellect that requires you to be accepted. But she is financing her college through pornography. And so we had Whoopi Goldberg and some of her View castmates speaking to this particular subject, and Whoopi was a little bit pro, and some of the others, like Sherry Shepherd, were a little, con, and my girl is a little con, is going to tell you why.
I'm very, very disappointed in Whoopi's take on it. Now, maybe she meant it came out wrong, and she really meant to convey something else, but it just sounds like she was cheerleading a woman selling her body and saying that's empowering. That's how it came across. And I just thought it was very irresponsible. I don't think that's something that and then the term itself, empowerment, it should be somewhat of a loftier ideal. Let me see, hanging from a pole and sleeping with 100 different men and possibly getting a disease that will take you to the grave. You shouldn't attach that to empowering.
Well, let's hope a couple of things. It's my understanding that the pornography industry has gotten a little bit different, and so there's a whole safe sex thing going on. I don't watch it, so I can't tell. Okay, Xavier, for my son who's 20 years old, I don't watch porno. I don't know, but I'm just saying. But I think about the word empower. The word empower. I looked up the definition, and it is typically used to convey someone that you've given power to, or something that you have permitted to take care of a situation. It's normally used in a legal term, you know, empowerment, like pusillanimous, we're giving you this information. However, I think it's used very loosely these days. I think it's used in a number of different contexts. So in this particular context, I think I want to believe that both Bella and Whoopi are saying that if I need to finance my education, I'm doing something that empowers me to pay the bill, not empowers me as a woman. That empowers.
Would she have said the same thing about selling drugs?
You know what? I don't know. I totally understand. I like I said, I like to look at something and try to figure out what might have been the mindset, and that's all I can come up with. That's all I can come up with.
I don't know. I just think that I said that to me, it's like taking the word nigger. And that's been used to dehumanize black people, hang black people from trees, kill children, and say, you know what? I'm empowered by nigger now.
Oh
no, you're
like
not.
I said, context.
Don't use that word, okay? I'm just saying, don't get it twisted. If you're selling your ass for money to a whole bunch of different men, it's not lofty, and it's not healthy, and it's not empowering.
Well, you know what? When we come back, we're going to be joined on our very own couch by a guest who embodies that word empowerment. So stick around. And we're back, and joined on the couch with us today is Tonya Rose, who is one of the most influential African-American realtors in Miami. And you may have seen her on the Style Channel's Hot Listings Miami, flexing her power broker muscles. She is what I call a triple S. She is sassy, strong, single, but the last S is probably going to be an M very soon, because she is engaged to former NBA star Mark Strickland, and she's a mother and author. She's an all-around phenomenal woman. Tonya Rose, thank you so much for joining us on The Spill.
Thank you for having me, lovely ladies.
Oh my God, it's our pleasure.
You know, I just gotta say, I've known Tonya for many, many years. I haven't seen her in a very, very long time. But what I do remember, when she walked through the door, I go, well, she hasn't changed one iota. It's probably been at least 15 years, maybe.
When I looked at you, I was like, woo, she's still beautiful.
Right?
They don't have one wrinkle.
And I said the same thing. Boy, that black don't crack, dude.
That black is strong.
Right. But you look absolutely gorgeous. And it's funny, because I think I was watching something on TV, and I was flipping, and I saw you. And I flipped back, and I was watching, and I said, oh my God, it's Tonya. And you, like I said, looked stunning. And I remember thinking, this woman always had it going on. Always had it going on. From the time I met her, she was doing something. And so this doesn't surprise me. But I got to ask you, Tonya, what did surprise me is that the luxury listings that you do, the kind of properties that you sell, it's very unusual for African-American sisters to be involved in that. Very unusual.
But wait.
Go ahead.
$12.5 million sale to Birdman, the rapper. 12.5.
14.
14. Oh,
we stand
correction.
What?
14.5.
Shut up.
That is
You know what? He's a powerhouse, and you know, people say whatever they want to, but he's a businessman. I mean, he came through, he paid cash for his house, and hey, if you have 14.5 million cash to drop on a house, you definitely got more in the bank. Where that's coming from.
Wow.
So you know what? I have to give them the props and the glory that they deserve, because they helped me.
How did he find you?
Well, actually, they have been working with me since they moved here from New Orleans. So I have had a long relationship with them, working with them, and I just been on the down low, you know, not in a good way. Down low. It's just down low, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, you know, I've been on the down low. I just haven't put everything in people's face. What I was doing, I was just, you know, building my foundation. And then when it was time to jump out, I said, hey, I'm here.
Wow.
what you gonna do about it?
Good for you.
I think there's probably some player hating going on right about now, because I'm sorry, that's an exclusive club. I don't know a whole bunch about it, but I remember even back when, of course, you know, we know the athlete thing. There weren't a whole lot of realtors that were selling these ball playing athletes' property.
Exactly.
And
No.
you know, here are all these black men. Why is that?
Well, first of all, the realtors who are on top of their game, I will say other, because it's a bunch of ethnicities here. Right. They don't think that we're deserving. They think that they have it figured out, and they think that they're deserving to get whatever millionaire, billionaire that comes to, pass here in Miami. Right. So, I mean, I'm at a struggle all the time. I've had top producers flying helicopters around while I'm showing property to clients. Oh, the game is vicious, girl. It's called crab barrel to me. It is like the sharks. It is like
Tommy,
really.
the other thing that I've been told, and I'm also a realtor, so we'll talk about that. That's another life segment. But I know, and we talked about that earlier, and I was like, you're going to forget your sister, so we might have to try to split that.
We might got some splitting going on. I'm fine with that.
But this is what we've always heard. We've always heard that sometimes the agents of the players bring their whole entourage, so they've got financiers, accountants, their own real estate people. Is that often seen where the real estate person is already connected and in place?
Sometimes that happens because they can already have a relationship with someone in another city, and then that person can refer you. So what I have created, me and my mind set, I have created something that is called International Sports Realtor Certification. Certificate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to train realtors in different states where there are baseball, basketball, football teams and soccer teams, and I'm going to train them under my system, under the Tommy Rose system. I'm going to certify them so they can do what I do still at the high level. And then also there's times where some of the wives have had problems with agents, female agents, you're pretty, you have to watch how you are. So I am kind of the president where they can come and they can say, hey, this is going on, we need to replace her, so then the wife doesn't feel bad, or there's not a big confrontation. So I just want to ease the pain, because I've been on both sides. I've been with the player, and then I've been single. Now I'm back with the player after 10 years. That's a whole nother story.
It takes them a minute sometimes, baby.
It takes them a minute, but
But speaking of, you're a mother of a wonderful son.
He's 12. Yes, he has his own business. He has a clothing line. Right now it's socks and t-shirts. He's 12. He started his clothing line when he was 11. So he's like a little entrepreneur.
That's fabulous.
But you know what? I wanted to instill it in him early, because being an African-American man, and just being a man, period, you should know how to be your own boss. And you should, you should start that at a young age, because you can't grow up to be a boss later. You need to already have it instilled in you.
Yes. We've got boys as well. So we have that feeling for our boys. So we want them to succeed, and we want them to have that, like you said, that mind that allows them to make decisions that ultimately affect women and their family. So very, very smart. And you wrote a book.
I wrote a book. My book title is Why Shouldn't Single Mothers Have It All? There are so many single moms in the world, and sometimes I was lost. I didn't know after, after we broke up, I didn't know where I was going, being a new mom for the first time. I didn't have a direction. I didn't really feel like I had anybody to turn to. So hopefully my book will give people a direction. It will give them the blueprint to figure out how to be successful and also have a kid and not handicap yourself because you have a kid.
That is so, again, first of all, I'm so proud.
Thank you.
I'm proud that I know you. I'm proud that I see what you're doing, and you have the right. You're starting your son off early, 12 years old. I can't wait to see my 30-year-old son and say, let me tell you something. See, this is what I'm saying. You what? This woman got a 12-year-old son with a business.
Well, listen, I've got a 20-year-old son who's a video editor. It does phenomenal work. So if he needs somebody to edit his commercials, call my son.
Oh, perfect.
But we all got something going on, which is great. That is amazing. It's really, really.
Is the book
really
out now? Is it out now?
The book will be released in May.
Okay.
So I will invite you guys. You guys can come.
Okay.
It's awesome. The book is very awesome. I definitely go all in. I tell my story. I don't leave one thing out. People are going to be shocked when they read my book to see where I came from to where I'm at now.
And you're from Indiana originally?
I'm from Indiana. I had a good childhood, but then after Mark, things got rough. So when you read it, you're going to be like, what? This happened? I never knew. Because I always walked around with a smile on my face. I never let anybody know that, times were harder, times were different. So when people read the book, they're really, 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 really going to be surprised.
I appreciate that kind of candor and that honesty, because a lot of times that's what helps another person get through whatever they're going through. Knowing that someone as beautiful, as poised, who's done so much, had that same position or was going through that same fate. So that I applaud you for just having the guts to say, hey, it wasn't all beautiful all the time.
We can talk.
Yeah, we can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk for
Okay. I said
24 hours.
That you will come back on the show so we can talk.
I will come
There
back.
are some women need to hear our talk.
Yes.
And one other request, if you allow us, we would love to have your book and some of your information profiled on our website so our viewers could go to
100%.
thespilltv.com and have a link to your website. Do you have a website of your own?
I do have a website. We are working on all of that
great,
now.
great.
I have a real estate website right now, but I'm going to separate that, and you still can purchase the book through my real estate website.
Awesome. Well, we'll have that information for you on thespilltv.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, honey. It's so good to see you.
Tonya.
Like I said, you are the bomb.
Yes,
this is empowerment, ladies.
Cheers
this
to
is
that.
Yes, take come on now.
I
Come on.
stole your glass.
All right, there you go.
You know how I am.
What, to the sisters. And when we come back, you're going to get some of Tonya's truth. I would like to believe that anyone who has been born of a woman and lives on planet Earth would hate to see any child, black or white, go to bed hungry. The truth of the matter is, in an ideal world where people and not money dictate the flow of everything, that would probably be true. But we don't live in an ideal world, so that is not the reality. And no one group of people exemplified that fact more than our own United States Congress. This do-nothing obstructionist Republican Congress has clearly shown Washington and the whole world what they intend to do for the American people. Of course, as long as President Obama's in office, and that's nothing. How can our U.S. congressmen who are sent to Washington to represent the people and whose salaries are paid by the people they're supposed to represent have no sense of responsibility to the people who sent them there? How can they say to the world with a straight face that they give a damn about the American people or even this country? But obviously what they do care about is seeing the legacy of the first black president destroyed, and I mean by any means necessary. Anyone who can't see their ultimate goal is either blind or dishonest. But that brings me to another point that I thought about when I heard the comments made by Bill O'Reilly, another one of the darlings of the Republican Party, when he criticized Beyonce about her negative image as a role model for young girls. He said it in an interview with Russell Simmons that, quote, "I believe an entertainer like Beyonce and a mogul like you have an obligation to protect children, not put out exploitive garbage that you know harms impressionable children." And frankly, I couldn't agree with him more. Let me be clear about Bill O'Reilly. Now, I believe he's a racist, evil, hate-mongering bigot whose comments, generally speaking, come from a place of hatred and mean-spiritedness. With that being said, however, I agree wholeheartedly about the direction that Beyonce's performances have taken, and I, for one, don't understand why. Her shows now have become increasingly hypersexual and bordering on stank. And I don't get why a woman is talented, beautiful, successful, and wealthy, not to mention wife of a music mogul and a new mother of a daughter, feels the need to go there. She's not trying to make it. She's the standard by which others aspire to. I don't know if she's trying to stay on top by doing what we all know sells or just trying to make more money. But I believe she should think about the young girls that try to emulate her persona in ways that may not necessarily be the best for them in the long run. Now, if Bill's comments had have included the shenanigans of performers like Miley Cyrus and Madonna, or any of the plethora of artists that do exactly the same thing Beyonce does, then his comments may have been viewed somewhat as constructive criticism. But he didn't, and I am not confused. So I say to my girl Beyonce that you do have a responsibility to the young women that look up to you, whether you think you do or not, remembering that to much is given, much is required. Let our young, impressionable ladies see that a woman doesn't have to be bumping and grinding and half naked to be seen as beautiful, smart, sexy, and strong. Because you're all that, even with your clothes on. And that's Tonya's truth.
What a great show.
What a great show.
What
a great show. You were fabulous. You missed your calling, girl. Why you
Maybe I got it. Maybe I got it now. Maybe I got it now.
You got it now.
Great time with Tommy Rose, wasn't she?
She was
just phenomenal.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
yeah. I'm telling you, Michelle, I think this is the start of a very beautiful relationship.
And we hope you enjoyed it. We hope we gave you something to think about. We educated, informed, and entertained you. So, you know.
In closing, what do we always say?
You can always go with the flow, but don't go with the flow.
Go with the spill. And we'll see you next time.
You don't have to come correct. Don't be shy, it's just you and I. So listen up and show me your step. Get steady, steady, hey, steady, steady. Cause I'm feeling you tonight. Ain't got no problem showing you